where he put on that makeup, that human skin tone makeup, and it wasn't the Joker.
Right.
No. It didn't feel like the
Joker.
Joker.
It was a mobster in face paint.
Exactly.
Which the Joker has a mobster-ish element to him at points.
Right.
But he's not a mobster.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So I think that's great about the Heath Ledger Joker. It makes him more creepy. It makes him more of a danger, in my opinion, because you have no idea where this guy comes from, who he is, what he can do. And it's terrifying.
And that's part of why I think it's a dumb idea that DC is moving forward with a Joker origin movie. Mind you, it's not even canon to the DCEU, which they've been struggling with.
A lot of problems with
They're having problems with it, and now they're like, hey, let's make one that's not canon and make an origin movie for Joker. Now, I love Joker, but can you do a Joker without Batman?
There is no origin for the Joker.
No.
That's one of the great things about him, is that even when Batman sits on that all-knowing seat in the one comic, and he asks the real identity of the Joker, he still is not told. He finds out that there have been 5 different incarnations of the Joker, but not who they were, nor how they came to be. And I love the fact you were talking about Heath Ledger doesn't have a backstory. It's left it open for a ton of Reddit users and stuff like that to create all kinds of fan theories. Then now I can read about how he was in the military at one point and this and that. And I'm like, how did he actually get those scars? Is he just literally insane, so he did it to himself? Or one of the, is it 3 stories? 2.5 stories, because he starts to get one out and then Batman stops him. Are one of those stories actually true? Did he actually have a wife at one point? Like, there's so much about Heath Ledger's Joker we don't know, and that,
that's part of what
adds to the mystique.
That's part of what made you love him so much and what made him such a good villain. Because when he says he has nothing to lose, he means it.
He has nothing to lose.
He has absolutely nothing other than clothes on his back.
Yeah. Which he got from the mob. Very nice purple jacket.
They want to know? You bought it.
But I do love that about this Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, is that he doesn't really care about the money or about anything like that. He's just in it for chaos. Yeah. But Tony, which villain? Because there's Bane, and I'll even throw. You could go with Talia al Ghul if you wanted to.
She was still a villain in that.
I'm going with Scarecrow, man.
Scarecrow was great.
Scarecrow was
that was
awesome
a good
character.
Incarnation of Scarecrow.
Dr. Crane was crazy.
Yep.
And he was he played not a large role, but he played a semi-decent role throughout the movie, and
he was the villain until the 3rd act.
Yes.
When you realize he's working for somebody.
Yes.
When Batman finds out he's working for somebody.
I thought he was a pretty good villain.
Yeah.
I do love Batman Begins, like we said in the opening, but
see, Batman Begins was a good movie, but it took no chances.
No.
I felt The Dark Knight took some chances, even with the casting of Heath Ledger as Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Dark Knight took some chances. Dark Knight Rises took some chances, but the Batman Begins really didn't take any. Yeah. It was, here is Batman's origin story. We're going to do a good, solid film. But I think that's what you got to do. It's the same thing with, like, in the MCU with Iron Man. If you rewatch Iron Man, it's a great movie, but it took no chances. Everything was pretty straightforward because it said, this is the building point for an entire
and if that flopped,
series.
If Iron Man had flopped, the MCU probably wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Well, and so with Batman Begins, they did the same thing.
That goes back to my comment that I said last week. I said, you know what, Robert Downey Jr. and Captain Marvel, I said, if they want to keep this going, even into the next phase, which is the 4th phase, right?
No, you're right. Phase 4 begins with the end of the next Infinity War.
Yeah.
If they need to carry into Phase 4, they need to make Captain Marvel the huge spectacle that Robert Downey Jr. was. Mm-hmm. And not to say that Robert Downey Jr. did a horrible job in his movies, but the first movie was the only real movie that set the tone for Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, but I don't blame him for that.
No. And I'm just saying for him to cameo in other movies.
Right.
I'm not saying that he was not good in those movies. It was just the way it was written. The villains were poor.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they were trying to get Hammer Industries and they were trying to get Hammer Tech out into everybody's hands, and he was like, I'm the big bad guy. No, like, you need to make a pinpoint villain, and the Mandarin was cheap and cheesy.
Right. That was awful.
Oh, so bad. I wish they
not
reincarnated.
bad if you don't care about the comics.
Yeah.
And to be frank, most of the people that are going and seeing these movies do not know a thing about the comics.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I haven't read many of the comics, and I thought it was awful.
Well,
So,
it got a decent rating.
yeah.
What is its rotten? I'm going to look it up. You guys keep talking. I'm going to look up its
a
Rotten
question
Tomatoes.
I wanted to ask, and now personally, I think The Dark Knight is already a classic.
Yes.
Yes.
And my
yeah.
question is, did you think the same? And you all said a resounding yes.
Uh-huh.
My follow-up question is, do you think any other superhero movies go down as classics? And this is anything from the DC universe right now, from what Sony's putting out, from Fox with like X-Men series, or with Deadpool, or the MCU.
The only one that has a chance, in my opinion, is Infinity War. You're going to have Iron Man's going to go down as a really good movie. Captain America Winter Soldier is going to go down as a really good movie, and stuff like that. But Infinity War, is, in my opinion, is the only one that has a chance. And I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it has a chance to go down as a classic. But it has some knocks against it, and the biggest one, in my opinion, is that unless you watch the previous, 17 movies,
Yep.
Yeah.
you're not going to understand that movie. You can understand The Dark Knight without having seen Batman Begins.
No.
Now, it makes more sense,
Yeah.
some of the things that happen in it, but you can watch that movie as a standalone film.
And The Dark Knight was a complete story in itself.
Yeah.
Hey, it's got an 80... Iron Man 3 has an 80% and a 78% audience score.
Which is funny because Avengers Infinity War was only like 5% higher than that.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
But no, I think that helps with Dark Knight. It's
Right.
a complete story, and
Yeah.
what's interesting too, now I could be wrong, but at the time we hadn't seen a plot like that in a superhero movie, where the Joker, your villain, plans to be caught and has this whole plan, and everything's going according to his plan, and there's nothing they could do about it.
3% more.
And we saw it with Avengers 1 with Loki, who had that plan, but when I saw that, I'm like, oh, Dark Knight. Because, to my knowledge, The Dark Knight's the first superhero movie to do something like that,
Yeah.
where the villain's the one in control the whole time.
Right.
Even when they catch him, they planned
still
it.
the one in
Even when
control.
they know where he is, he planned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all part of his plan.
I really think that's the only movie that has a legitimate chance of remaining a classic as it goes. And see, the problem is superhero movie is such a niche. You've got westerns, and really anybody can like a western. You've got action, and anybody can like an action. And even sci-fi has a wide... Not everybody loves sci-fi, but it's got a wide fan base. Superhero movie is a very narrow fan base, and they're popular right now.
Well,
but I say give it another 10 years, and superhero movies aren't popular anymore.
Every decade has its genre. You
Yeah.
had in the 80s, you had a lot of sci-fi. I mean, and of course you have other genres sprinkled in, but the main thing was sci-fi. Then you have
The 90s action film.
Yes.
You had so many action heroes. That was the thing. Big explosions,
and
gunfights.
right now we're living in the age of the superhero genre, and we have for the past 10 years.
10 or so years.
I'd probably go a little 15 maybe before the MCU had started, because all these superhero movies before that had gotten the genre moving. But I don't think
I'm gonna
it's
say after Phase 1.
No, I would say Phase 1 started it.
I'm thinking of, you also had like Spider-Man 2. You had like
That's true. The Sam
true, yeah.
Raimi Spider-Man
And, like,
series
okay,
is probably the birthplace of the modern
and you had
superhero
X-Men,
film.
who I'm not
Yep.
a huge fan of the movies.
But those X-Men movies and the Sam
And
Raimi
the
Spider-Man
genre itself wasn't super popular until Avengers. It really wasn't.
Yeah,
but
right.
the rise of the genre was really getting going in the early 2000s.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and it helped that I think that the X-Men movies and the Sam Raimi trilogy, while they, yes, were superheroes in Spider-Man and the X-Men, I would not necessarily classify them as a superhero movie like we classify these movies, the MCU and the DCEU, as superhero movies. I think Spider-Man 3 really started to get there. I think you saw X3 and X2 really start to get there. But the first two Spider-Man movies, which I think Spider-Man 2 is also a very underrated...
Oh, yeah.
And by underrated, I mean it's just forgotten. Everybody forgets about it when you talk about great superhero movies. But,
Everyone remembers Spider-Man 3.
right, but not
being so
Spider-Man
bad.
2, which was by far the best one up until I think you started to see things like what the MCU is doing. And not in their Phase 1, in Phase 2.
And the thing with the MCU, I think, Infinity War might go down as a classic, but I think it's going to depend on the conclusion with this next movie.
Yeah.
I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic. I think it's going to depend how they conclude it, if it's still a good story. I think as a whole it goes down as a classic because you've never seen a universe this big with all these different movies
Actually work.
adding up.
Yep.
So I think as a whole, it will at least go down as a classic. As wow, this was the first of its kind to put all these universes together and all these franchises.
you've got. They say that Stephen King's novels and by the novels, the movies are all in the same universe, but they don't really connect. You don't really see overlap and stuff like that. I think it's John Wayne's, and John Wayne's movies are supposed to be in the same universe, and it's I can't remember his name now. Trouble with the Curve.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood, thank you. His movies are, as I understand, are all supposed to be in the same universe, but no movie franchise that is so expansive as the MCU has ever been put together like this. And it's sad to me. I was just thinking about this. It's sad to me because The Dark Knight, which is a DC movie, is perhaps the greatest one, and it's just gone plummeting downhill since that movie.
Well, see, here's the thing. When the MCU got started, which, by the way, the MCU got started the same year The Dark Knight came out. Iron Man came out a couple months before that.
Yeah.
So
which is hard to remember and kind of fathom.
Yeah.
Well, and then I think The Incredible Hulk came out that same summer, which everyone forgets that too.
Ugh.
Well, because it was bad.
So the MCU gets started at the same time, but the MCU, I think, will go down as a classic because it has changed so much, and not just for the superhero genre, but for a lot of other movies. Now movies are trying so hard to have a shared universe.
With Sony.
And Sony was trying so hard with the Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, I was talking about the Dark... What is the Dark World, or what? Not the Dark World? That's the name of it.
Dark Universe.
Dark Universe. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, they were
Which
trying,
had one movie in it,
and even like the Godzilla movie and the Kong movie
and Kong.
Skull
They're
Island.
trying to do that.
Like they're trying. Every movie franchise now is trying to do a shared universe. Star Wars even is trying to do all these solo movies that are spin-offs of Star Wars.
A solo
a Star Wars story. They're
fired.
trying so hard to copy it. And what was funny was I think the Russo brothers were interviewed a few months back before Infinity War about what would you say to people trying to do this, and they say don't, because it's for them, like, they're used to it because they did Civil War and they've done a few, but they said how hard it is with all the different characters, all the different actors, all the different stories you have to tell and connect and interweave together. But then DC noticed and they're trying to get on, and they just haven't done a good job.
Which is sad because DC, let's be honest, DC has far superior superheroes and supervillains for the most part than Marvel does, at least with what Marvel has been asked to work with.
You know something, too? I was just thinking about this. Marvel, at the time, when they started Iron Man, they were starting with B-list heroes with their franchise because they didn't have the X-Men, which the X-Men aren't as popular, but they didn't have Spider-Man, who is one of their most popular characters.
Probably their most popular character. And at the very least has the best rogues gallery.
And Captain America, Iron Man, they're popular, but I would say Thor's more B-list than the others. But they didn't get as popular until these movies started coming.
Right.
So they started with B-list characters because when they were going bankrupt, they gave all their characters away so they could stay in business. DC has the rights to all their characters.
At the very least, they have the rights to their big three in Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman.
But guess what? We're getting an Aquaman movie before we get a Batman movie.
Yeah, but I don't think that's their fault. That's Ben Affleck's fault.
Yeah, it's been in such development hell for so long. I think, really.
But you big three...
Actually, December 21st.
December 21st, you're getting an Aquaman movie. Hopefully, next week we'll be talking about the trailer for Aquaman. But
let's talk about this real quick. Did you guys see, and what do you guys think of this? Most of the heroes in the MCU have a 3-movie set, right? You've got 3 Captain America movies. You've got 3 Iron Man movies. You'll have 3 Thor. You have 3 Thors. You'll have 3 Guardians movies. They just released. It was Feige. I think it was yesterday or the day before. They're planning a 5-movie run for Spider-Man.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, that's probably because of Sony, too.
They finally got their baby back, and they're going to do the best they can with their baby. And I think they're going to build out for Sinister Six. I don't know how much.
I agree. I think that's where they're going.
I think they're going to introduce Mysterio in this next movie. Maybe Scorpion comes in, and I think they're going to build out for a Sinister Six. And then, see, I'm curious if that 5 movies includes any Avengers appearances.
I don't think that it does. I think it's 5 solo.
I don't know if that's absolutely true. I think it could be 5 movies five Marvel movies that he's going to be
But then
in.
he's already in 3.
Well,
So he's
be
only
two
got
more.
2 more.
Yeah.
But I think
I
he
don't
has,
think so.
No,
I
Before
think
they
it's-
roll with their solo.
I think starting
it's-
with Far From Home, he has 5 movies of his own franchise.
I think starting with Homecoming. I think Homecoming's 1.